प्रेझेंट रेशर पाहिजे ना मग
किती बोलू शकतो.
वन सेकंड स्टूडेंट प्लीज. It is taking little time because we have to manage late joining students for acceptance on the same machine is not possible. So we are making some alternate arrangement, and very soon we'll start. Hello. Once again, welcome. Is my screen visible and am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll
Yes,
begin.
sir.
Yes,
Very
sir.
good, very good.
Yes, sir.
Let us start. So parser is a program that takes input string and try to construct parse tree for it if possible. If not possible, announce an error. And basically it performs the syntax analysis as per your second phase of your compiler. To parse, it builds a parse tree, and the parse tree can be built in two ways, that is a bottom up and other is top down. Bottom up is starting from the leaf node moving towards the root node, and top down means starting from the root node and moving towards the leaf node, that is a top down approach. In both approaches, there are two different types of category of parsers. Let us go ahead. Classification of parsers. So parsing process is classified into basically two parts, that is top down parsing and bottom up parsing, as just now we have seen. Under top down parsing, there are two parsers, backtracking parsers and non backtracking parsers. Backtracking means after going for few steps, if required, the parser procedure can be unrolled and come back to the previous state and again restart. So that is backtracking. And second one is non backtracking, where it will only move on one direction. Under non backtracking parsing, there are two parsings, that is recursive descent parsing, and second one is table driven parsing procedure, that is LL1. Okay, what is meaning of LL1, that we are going to see soon. Under bottom up parsing, again there are two parsers. One is a operator precedence parsing, and second one is a table driven LR parsing. An operator procedure parsing is designed specifically to the operator grammar. I mean, a language which uses majority operators like expression grammar. There, that operator procedure parsing is suitable. Whereas table driven parsing, they are LR parsing. So, meaning of LR we are going to see in the subsequent slides. So again, LR is categorized into three different parsing. One is SLR parsing, that is simple LR parsing, also called as LR0 parsing. Second one is canonical parsing, that is canonical LR means CLR, canonical LR parsing. And third one is LALR parsing, look ahead LR parsing. Okay, so these are basically 5 parsing methods that we are going to cover in our subsequent course. Okay, so let us move on to the next part, that is what is top-down parser. In top-down parser, the input string is scanned left to right, and usually we read left to right, so parser will scan the string left to right. In top-down parser attempts to find the leftmost derivation for an input string W. What is meant by leftmost derivation? The leftmost derivation is one in which in every step leftmost non-terminal derives to terminal first. In the each step of derivation, there may be more than one non-terminals, and whenever there is more than one non-terminals, the leftmost non-terminal is derives to terminal first. Now, the student, those who are not aware about the grammar, they might be facing a difficulty. But I think third year students, those who are joined, they might have studied in the fourth semester TFCS subject grammar, and the terminology for terminals, non-terminals is known to you. I assume it. What is the prerequisite? In a top-down parser, there is a prerequisite, means what? As the tree is built in a top-down way, that is starting from the root node and moving towards the leaf node, the left recursive grammar is not suitable for top-down parsing, right? So left recursive grammar will do what? Every time the leftmost non-terminal will be same, the production applicable may be the same, and therefore it will generate one more non-terminal of same symbol on the leftmost, and the process falls in repetition for infinite times. Repetition for infinite times is a recursion, and that is why we say this is left recursive. And because it falls in a recursion without giving any output, it is useless. Therefore, left recursive grammar is not suitable for top-down parser. So we have to eliminate left recursion if there is a left recursion in the grammar. Second is if pair of production contains common prefixes. If pair of production contains common prefixes, means there are two alternate productions, say A derives to alpha and beta, wherein alpha beta can be any string of terminus, non-terminus both, but few symbols of alpha and beta or leading symbols of alpha and beta, they are same. So we say this is a common prefix. Then the parser is unable to decide which is the suitable production for expansion of a node, right? So A is to be expanded with some string, and looking at the current input symbol, so there are two productions, A derives to alpha and A derives to beta, wherein first symbol of alpha and first symbol of beta is same. So exactly which is suitable cannot be guessed at a right time, right? Reason is, if you select alpha and further in the subsequent step, suppose it found that the remaining part of the string is not possible to derive using alpha, but beta was more suitable, so the decision taken in earlier step was wrong, so we have to roll back, that is the overhead to the compiler, and then again start with the second one. So to avoid this rollback, so and why it is possible? Because two productions are having similar symbols, same symbols in beginning, that is prefix. So what to do? Do the left factoring. So perform left factoring of the grammar. So remember, whenever we are applying a top-down parser for the grammar, the prerequisites are: if grammar is left recursive, eliminate left recursion. If the two alternate production contains common prefixes, then do the left factoring. How top-down parser works? So let us consider the grammar is S derives to ASA, BSB or C. This is a grammar for palindrome string over A's and B's with C as center. So it will generate a palindrome string. Start is A, end with A. Start is B, end with B. So it can generate similar strings, say A, B, C, B, A, with C as a center. And if you read the string on either side, it reads same, that is palindrome string. So if this is the string ABCBA and given grammar is S equals to ASA, BSB or C. So how top-down parser works? Let us have a quick look at work. So initially on the stack we push start symbol and the entire string is terminated with a new symbol, say dollar. Now with this as a situation, input string is ended with a new symbol dollar, and on the stack we push a start symbol. Below the uh, stack is S is bottom of stack marker, like in PD you might have used Z0. Okay. Now what is the action? Considering the stack top symbol which is S and current input symbol A, stack top symbol is S and current input symbol is A. Depending on this combination, your parser will decide suitable production. So which is the suitable? Because this is the production S derives to ASA. It begin with A and here the string is beginning with A. So suitable production for this step is S derives to ASA. So parser will expand S with ASA, expand S by ASA. As an action to be carried out by top-down parser as expand by S equals to ASA, what it will do, it will pop up this S from the stack and push this ASA on the stack. Remember, this right-hand side production is pushed on the stack in the reverse order. Reverse reason is the leftmost symbol of the right-hand side production. Leftmost symbol of the production should be available on the stack. Right? That's why the entire string is reversed and pushed on the stack. For this case, being a palindrome string, it will look like the same. But remember, the alpha has to be reverse and push, so that leftmost non-terminal to be available, leftmost symbol to be available on the top of the stack. So after executing this action, your stack contains ASA and input is still ABCBA. Now in next step, whenever parser finds that on the stack top symbol is a terminal and input is also terminal and they are same. So stack top is terminal A, input is also A, so they are same symbol. Then it will simply pop up the stack top symbol and advance the input pointer. So pop up and advance. So as against this pop up and advance, so A is pop up from the stack and input is advanced to the next input symbol. Therefore, stack contents will be AS and the string left in the input buffer is BCBA. See, whenever the pointer is ahead, so it can read string from the current to end. So BCBA is now remain, A is shifted, their pointer is advanced, so is removed as good as it is removed from the buffer. Again, stack top symbol is S, which is non-terminal, and input symbol is B. So parser will check or verify that which suitable production can be used here. So what is the suitable production of S? There are three productions of S, out of which the string that begins with B is suitable. So here BSB is suitable because it begins with B. Here is input is B. So parser here will take the action expand by S goes to BSB. So as against this, as I said, S is popped off and it is replaced with BSB reversed. So the next content will be A. On the top of that BSB. So this BSB is pushed on the stack. This leftmost B on the right, that is on the top, string remains same. Whenever stack top terminal and input symbol are same, input is always string of terminals. So when stack top terminal and input is same, pop up and advance. So when pop up and advance, so we remove one symbol from the stack and advance input pointer, right? So this way we proceed. Whenever stack top contains a non-terminal, it will find what is the terminal symbol in the input string and then select a suitable production of that non-terminal that begins with input symbol. So current input symbol is now C. Stack top symbol is say S non-terminal. So it will check which is the suitable production of S that begins with C, and that is only one, that is S equals to C. So expand by C. Whenever parser calls expansion, the non-terminal is pop up, right hand side production is pushed on the stack in the reverse order. Okay, and the process continues. How long? At some point in the parsing, the stack will be empty, so it will contain bottom of the stack marker dollar. So as string will also end. When stack contains dollar and input buffer also contains dollar, that is string ends and stack empty simultaneously, you can say, that time parser will accept it, right? So this is parser will say successfully parser completed, and it will accept the string. This is how top down parser works. And when I say top down parser,
Excuse me, sir.
yes, yes, बोलिए.
सर सॉरी फॉर द इंटरप्शन बट सर स्क्रीन बहुत ही ज्यादा ब्लिंक हो रही है.
ब्लिंक हो रही है.
यस सर.
That may be because of network issue, or as my slides are animated, so whenever I press the key, okay, so that is maybe because of your network issues. Okay, so let us bear with the screen, because I'm not doing anything with the screen. The next part is how the tree is built in a top-down way. So now I'm going to explain here how the tree is built in a top-down way. So when I push start symbol S on the stack, I will create a new node labeled with that non-terminal S. And whenever the parser calls action by some production it goes to alpha, and alpha is pushed on the stack, that time it will create nodes labeled by each of the symbols on the right hand side of production alpha, and attach them as a children to the parent node. So here S is expanded with ASA, so it will create the three nodes ASA, and that will attach the children left to right to the parent node. Always consider the leftmost node available. Leftmost node available is A, input is also A, so that matches. So advance input pointer to the next input symbol, and consider the next node available. So we pop up A from the stack, advance input pointer, that is E rest. Next node available is S, and input symbol is B. So here when S is expanded with BSB, so again the three nodes BSB is created, and they are attached as a children left to right to the node S. Okay. Consider the leftmost node available, and this way you will find the tree is built in a top-down way. Okay. So step by step it is moving towards root node to leaf node, and finally when the string ends and there is no more node left underived, so tree is completed. Okay. So this is how the tree is built in a top-down way. Now, as I said, three processes is required for top-down parser, that is elimination of left recursion and left factor. So what is meant by elimination of left recursion? A grammar is said to be left recursive if it contains at least one pair of production of the form A equals to A alpha or beta. Leftmost non-terminal or left-hand side non-terminal appears as a first symbol in right-hand side of the production. Left-hand side non-terminal appears as first symbol in right-hand side of the production. Then we say it is left recursive. So here left-hand side non-term is A, that appears as the first symbol in right hand side of the production. So this becomes a left recursive production. So whenever there is a grammar or any production which is left recursive, we say grammar is left recursive. And as I said, left recursive grammar is not suitable for top-down parsing. We have to eliminate left recursion. So this grammar E derives to E plus T or T derives to T star F or F, and F derives to parentheses E or ID. This is left recursive because E appears as the first symbol here. T appears as the first symbol in right hand side. To eliminate left recursion, the generic rule is if there are n productions of left recursion, that is A derives to A alpha 1, A alpha 2, ellipsis A alpha n, or beta 1, beta 2, ellipsis beta n, assuming that all betas are not starting from left hand side variable A. Alpha beta, Greek letter denotes string of terminals and non-terminals both. Beta may be string of non-terminals, but the first of betas is not A. If it, then it will be considered as a alpha. Okay. So what is the generic rule? If there is such production A goes to A alpha or beta, collect all betas, and append with a new non-terminal, say A dash. So B1 A dash, B2 A dash, beta 1 A dash, beta 2 A dash, and beta n A dash. So collect all betas and append with a new non-terminal A dash. As we have introduced a new non-terminal A dash, it's our responsibility to add production of A dash. So provide production of A dash as A dash derives to all alphas, alpha 1, alpha 2. So append alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha n with A dash. So alpha 1 A dash, alpha 2 A dash, alpha n A dash, and because in A dash we are producing one more A dash. Sometime this production should terminate, so we need to add epsilon. If you do not add epsilon, A dash will generate one more A dash non-terminal, and your tree will not be completed. Right, so it should terminate with a terminal. So finally, we need to add epsilon production over here. Okay, so generic rule is A d to A alpha beta, then we'll write A d to beta A dash and A dash to alpha A dash or epsilon. So this is one example that we have just seen that it is left recursive, and to eliminate ref recursion, consider one by one production, say E d to E plus T or T, wherein the production that do not begin with left hand side symbol is beta, and production that begins with left hand side symbol is A alpha. So here beta part is T and alpha part is plus T. So our rule says collect beta and append with a new non-terminal. So here beta is T. So we'll write E d to T and E dash. T followed by E dash. And then we have to provide production of E dash as E dash d to plus T E dash or epsilon. So after eliminating left recursion from this production, we may write E d to T E dash and E dash d to plus T E dash or epsilon. Likewise, for T d to T star F or F, your beta part is F, alpha part is star F. So you may write T d to Ft dash and T dash d to star Ft dash or epsilon. For F, there is no left recursion. So finally, grammar after elimination of left recursion becomes this E d to T dash, E dash d to plus T dash or epsilon, T d to Ft dash, and T dash d to star Ft dash or epsilon, F d to parenthesize E and ID. Okay, so this is finally grammar after left recursion. So we need to check whether the grammar is left recursive or not, and if so, eliminate left recursion for top-down parser only. Left factoring the grammar. It is left factoring grammar means taking out common prefixes. As we say that this is the grammar for decision statement, ICTS and ICTSES. Decision statement, if condition then statement, if condition then statement, else statement. So during parsing, whenever parser, compiler or parser encounter the token of if, by just looking at token of if, compiler is unable to decide whether there is an else part or not, unless and until it reaches to the else token. So in that case, suppose parser expand with this ICTS, if condition then statement. After that, suppose token of else encounter, it may not able to proceed further, and it may announce an error. But it's right that after statement there can be else. Unfortunately, suppose parser started with ICTSES, so after parsing of S statement and there is no else part, every if statement may not be necessarily having else part. So suppose we have expanded with ICTSES and there is a no else part, again the production says there should be else and token of else is not there, so again misplaced. So in that case there is a problem. The problem is with the parsing, that if there are common prefixes, compiler is unable to decide which one is suitable. Normally what we do as a human being, when there are common things, what we do the common things first and then decide which to do when. So here also we are doing the same thing. The common part we take out, right? Taking out common prefixes is called as a left factoring. So common part is ICTS. Okay, so we take a common out of this. So we write a production of S as, take the common as S d to ICTS, that is a common part, and whatever left, for that we introduce a non-terminal, say A dash S dash, we introduce another non-terminal, say S dash. Other production or A will remain as it is. So we are focusing on the production which are having the common prefixes. What we have done, we have taken out common prefixes, put that common prefix followed by new non-terminal, say S dash. The remaining production, that is as it is. C d to B will remain same, but what about S dash? S dash introduced by us, so we have to provide production for S dash. The production of S dash is what are left in production. So from this production nothing is left, so epsilon. From this production ES is left, so production of S dash will be ES and epsilon. So we provide the production of S dash as ES or epsilon. So this is how taking out common prefixes. So now this grammar is suitable as whenever there is a statement looking at token if, it will expand ICT as S dash. So if condition then statement, up to the first statement it will expand. If there encounters a token of else, then S dash may expand with ES. If there is no token of else, it will S dash will expand with an epsilon. So it will work. Okay, this way this ambiguity is removed from this left factoring by left factor grammar for top-down parsing. Okay, so two prerequisites are there for top-down parsing. That is, you have to remember always: elimination of left recursion and left factoring the grammar. Moving further, recursive descent parsing. What is recursive descent parsing? In recursive descent parsing, it is a non-backtracking parser, right? It implemented by writing a set of recursive procedures to process the input. One procedure will take care of the leftmost derivation of one non-terminal while processing the input. For each non-terminal, there is one procedure. Each procedure will parse production of one non-terminal, and then that procedures may be called from other procedure. That's why it is called as a recursive. For backtracking, each procedure should provide local variable for storing input pointer. So if you want to have backtracking, so up to which step we have to roll back or backtrack, for that each function must have a local variable, so that everything when we watch the local variable have the last recent value, so that can be utilized. Let us consider the small grammar as derives to a capital AB and a derives to small ad or c. So to write recursive parsing procedure for this grammar, we may write procedure for S as S derives to a capital AB. So the procedure for S will become like, if scan this input left to right, so first input symbol has to be A. If it is A, then advanced input pointer, followed by there is a non-terminal A, so just call the procedure for A, and it may return success or return error. So if it doesn't return error, that means string derivable from A is parsed successfully. String derivable from this non-terminal A is parsed successfully, so we can go ahead. So next input symbol expected is a small b, so if input equal to b, advance. After that, if input equal to dollar, means every string is ended with a dollar and S is the start symbol, so expected is here is a dollar, so input is dollar, then return true, indicating that the string derivable from S is parsed successfully. If there is no string terminator dollar, then return error. Otherwise, if you go back, like after processing the string derivable from A, if next input symbol expected is B, so we write if statement for B here. But if input is not B, so control fall down to else part, so it will return here error, indicating that expected was B and there is no input B, so input is not B, then else part, so else part will return error. Likewise, if the first symbol is not A, then it will fall into else part and it will return error. Okay, this is procedure for S. Likewise, there is a procedure for A, D or C. If you relate color code, so you will find how you are matching it. The first procedure for A is first input symbol must be A. If it is matches, then advanced input pointer. Followed by A, we expect D. So if input is D, then advanced input pointer. Followed by D is nothing, so return true, that AD has been parsed successfully. If the first is A but second is not D, so else part of D is return error. If first input symbol itself is not A, it falls in the else part, wherein other production is there that says if it is not AD, then it can be AC, C also. So if it is not A, then it may be C, and if it is C, advanced input pointer return. If it is also not C, means total error, and this is procedure for A. Next, these are the procedure for this non-terminal S and A, and that is to be combined together and called from main program. So there is a main program, has defined true 1, has defined false 0, has defined error -1, as I have taken -1 error because there may be multiple errors, right? So because of which there is an error. To identify different reasons of failure, I can have different values: -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -10, -100, and different reasons and different minus negative values. So each negative value may indicate some specific reason. For success, have only one reason, right? So true is 1, false is 0. And what are the reasons? That is n number of reasons. So that way I have mentioned here, error is -1 and many. So main program append dollar to the input string. Then if s not equal to error, means start a derivation from start symbol. If s is capable of deriving the string successfully, well and good. If it not derive the string successfully, it will return error. If it doesn't return error, means not equal to error, that is successful. If it returns error, that means failure. That is a simple function. The function advance will advance input pointer to the next input symbol or next one. So this is main, which is a smaller one, but earlier two functions are more important. So this function may get called from each other. We call it as a recursive descent passing procedure. This is what one category of top-down parser. Let us move on to the next important parser, LL1. Next important parser is LL1. The first L here, first L stands for left to right scanning of input string. First L stands for left to right scanning of input string. Second L stands for leftmost derivation. Second L stands for leftmost derivation, and the one indicate one step at a time. One indicates one step at a time. So LL1 is left to right scanning of input, leftmost derivation, and one step, one production or one step in everywhere. So LL1 parser, it is a table driven predictive parser. Table driven means there must be some table, and that is guiding the parser that what to do, when to do. And predictive means it predicts that the suitable production, right? So LL1 parsing table contains a production which can be used to derive the string beginning with an input symbol. It gives the guidance or direction that which production is suitable at particular situation. So our objective is to make that parsing table. If the grammar contains production of the form a equals to a alpha 1 or alpha 2 or alpha n, then we have to compute first of alpha for each alpha I, right? For each of these alphas, we have to compute the first set. If grammar contains a equals to epsilon, right? A equals to epsilon. Epsilon is an entity, denotes null string or empty string. Epsilon is a symbol or entity, denotes null string or empty string. In fact, there will not be a token of epsilon. It will be just indicator of null string or empty string. But for grammar, it is required. So whenever your grammar contains epsilon production, then we need to compute a follow set. So for non-epsilon free grammar, epsilon free grammar or non-epsilon grammar, LL1 parsing table can be filled using only first symbol, right? So for epsilon free grammar, LL1 parsing table can be constructed without follow set. Now how to compute first and follow? So final student, they are aware of this. The algorithm for this is available in the book that you can refer. I quickly go through this. The first stop A is first stop alpha if there is a production A belongs to alpha. The first stop non-terminal A is first stop alpha. And what is alpha? As it is said, alpha is a string of terminals and non-terminal both. X1 to Xn, there are n symbols. X1 to Xn, there are n symbols. Each Xi may be terminal, may be non-terminal. Each Xi is terminal or non-terminal. So if X1 is a terminal symbol, then X1 is in the first stop A. The meaning of this sentence or this concept is, which one is the first terminal symbol for any string derivable from A? If you consider any string derivable from A, what will be the first terminal symbol? We are expecting only first terminal symbol. So A belongs to alpha is a production, and alpha contains n symbols, and first of alpha, that is X1 itself, is a terminal. So definitely A will derive the string that begins with x1, which is terminal. So we are not expecting or considering the another symbols. But if x1 is a non-terminal, if x1 is non-terminal, then like A, x1 is also non-terminal. So we have to find out first of x1 and except epsilon, everything in first of x1 except epsilon to be included in the first of A. Now third part is if x1 is a non-terminal and first of x1 contains epsilon, x1 is non-terminal, first of x1 contains epsilon, that means in some point of the derivation, suppose x1 is a non-terminal and that contains epsilon, means x1 derives a null string. In some point of the derivation, suppose x1 derives a null string, your actual string begins with x2. Your actual string will begin with x2. Therefore, first stop x2 will be the first stop alpha and same will be the first stop A. Therefore, it is added first stop A is equal to first stop x1 minus epsilon union first stop x2 x3 ellipsis xn, and the procedure repeats for this x2 to xn, which is repeated for x1 to xn. Right. So this entire step 1, 2, 3 is repeated for x2 to xn. This is how we compute the first set. After computing the first set, okay, one more point is if all xi, if all of them are non-terminal x1 to xn, and each of this non-terminal x1 to xn contains epsilon in their first set. All of them are non-terminal, all of them contains epsilon in the first set. That means in some point of the derivation, suppose all of these xi's derives epsilon, the ultimate string is an epsilon, epsilon concatenated by epsilon n times is an epsilon, that is a null string. So ultimately A derives a null string, that means A derives an epsilon. In that case only we add epsilon in the first of A. Condition is if each of them are non-terminals x1 to xn and each xi must contain epsilon in their first set. So there is a possibility that each of xi may derive null string in one derivation, thereby resulting into a null string. Therefore, first of A is null string, empty string, and hence we add epsilon in the first of A. Compute follow set. It's very simple. String is derived from start symbol S, and we append a string with a dollar symbol. So S followed by this a dollar. So we add dollar in the follow of S, where S is the start symbol. The first thing to be added as a follow set. Now, next step is to find follow of some non-terminal. To find follow of some non-terminal, we have to look for that non-terminal in the right-hand side of the productions. The follow means what will be the next symbol. After that, what is the next symbol? So to predict or to find out what is the next symbol, we have to look into the productions. So where the symbol appears in the right hand side of the production. So we look for that symbol, that variable in the right hand side of the production. Let us consider the production is A derives to alpha b beta, where beta is not empty, right? Beta is not a null string or epsilon. Then follow of B. See, we are computing follow of B. B appears in the right hand side of the productions. So whenever we are computing follow set, look for that symbol in the right hand side of the production. Then put an imaginary line after that symbol and find out what will be the first of that remaining string. So here follow of B is first of beta minus epsilon. Beta minus epsilon, because epsilon is the entity to denote null string. It will never come as an input string. So this may be the possibility. Followed by B is first of beta, provided beta is not empty here. Otherwise, there is a possibility that beta equal to epsilon, that is beta becomes epsilon. There is no beta as such present after B. B happens to be the rightmost non-terminal. There is no beta, no string available. Or there is a production A derives to alpha B. So this is also rightmost non-terminal. So this is direct rightmost non-terminal, and here indirect rightmost non-terminal. When I say beta equal to epsilon means there is a string, but that derives a null string. So beta equal to epsilon, and there is no string as such. So whenever B happens to be rightmost non-terminal directly or indirectly, then we look towards left hand side variable. When we look towards left hand side variable, follow of B is nothing but follow of A. Everything in follow of left hand side variable appears in the follow of B. This is a simple rule to compute follow set. Consider one grammar: e derives to e plus t or t derives to t star f or f derives to parenthesis e or id. Okay, so the compute first set. The first of e, first of e is, first of this is first of e plus t, that is first of e, and first of t. To find first of t, we have to consider for production of t. So t derives to t star f. So first of t that we are computing, and then first of f. So first of t is equal to first of f, and first of f is what? Consider this production. The first of f is opening parenthesis. As per this production, opening parenthesis. As per second production id, therefore first of f is opening parenthesis and id, and same is for first of t, same is for first of e. So first of e equal to first of t equal to first of f equal to opening parenthesis and id. Moving further for computing the follow set. Follow of e, as I said, e is the start symbol, so dollar is to be included in the follow of start symbol. Dollar is to be included in follow of start symbol. The first step. Then we search where this e appears in the right hand side of the production. Where e appears? E appears in the first production, say here. Second appearance is here in the f production. Looking at the first appearance of e in the e production, e followed by plus. So what is the follow set of e? As per this production rule, follow set is plus. As per this production, follow set is closing parenthesis. Therefore, we include plus and closing parenthesis in the follow of e. What is the symbol after e? Symbol after is plus here in the production of e. Symbol after e is closing parenthesis here in the production of f. So closing parenthesis and plus is included along with dollar, because dollar is a suffix added to every string, and that is to be included as a follow set of start symbol. So follow up you are computed, then follow of t you have to compute. So to find follow of t, we look where t appears. T appears in these two productions and t productions. As per the t production, t followed by star. So follow of t contains star as per the second rule, and then t appears here also. So in other case, here in the production of e, both t appears, both of the t appears as a rightmost non-terminal. Because both of them are rightmost non-terminal, we have to look for follow set in the left hand side variable. So everything in follow of e will be in follow of t. So follow of e contains dollar plus right parenthesis, so that is included as a follow of t. T के follow में first is star as per this production rule, t followed by star, so star is included first, and then as t appears as the rightmost non-terminal in the production of e, so there is no string after that, so we look towards left hand side variable. Everything in follow of left hand side variable is included as a follow set. Okay, so that is about follow of t. Then to consider follow of f, so f appears in these two production. So again, f happens to be the rightmost non-terminal in both the cases. So when f happens to be rightmost non-terminal, everything in follow of left hand side variable is included as follow of f. So follow of t is included in follow of f. Follow of t is star dollar plus right parenthesis. Same will be the follow of f. So follow of f equal to follow of t, and follow of t is star dollar plus and right parenthesis. This is how to compute the follow set. Okay. Remember, for the parsers, the computation of first and follow is very crucial part. Unless and until you are strong about this parser, first and follow, you will not be able to understand parsers. Next step is to fill the parsing table entries to construct the LL1 parsing table. To compute, to fill the LL1 parsing table, the first step is to compute first and follow set for every non-terminal of the grammar. So we have just seen how to compute first and follow set. Then this second step is filling entries in the passing table. So the procedure is very simple. For every production A d raised to alpha, for every production A d raised to alpha, for every production, what to do? For every non-epsilon member, for every non-epsilon member A, for every non-epsilon member A in first of alpha, in first of alpha, there may be sometime epsilon, but non-epsilon member A, what to do? Table A, row number is A because we are talking about the production of A, and column label is say first of alpha, which is small a. We have to write A draws to alpha, right? So to add this production A draws to alpha, where to add? In the row of left hand side variable and in the column of first of alpha, maybe one or maybe more than one symbol. If first of alpha contains epsilon, if first of alpha contains epsilon, then for every b in, for every b in follow of a, again remember follow of a, if alpha is an epsilon directly or indirectly, then again we have to consider the production of left hand side, follow of left hand side variable. So everything in follow of a, add production a d raised to alpha. Remember, we are adding a d raised to alpha. Alpha may be directly epsilon, sometime alpha may be some string. So alpha may be x1, x2, but x1 is epsilon, x2 is epsilon, but we are not supposed to add epsilon. We are supposed to add a d raised to x1, x2, provided x1 and x2 both contains epsilon. So whenever there is epsilon production, we need to make entries into follow set of left hand side variable, follow set of left hand side variable. Okay, and column is follow set, variable is production that is going to add it. With this a simple rule, we can fill the passing table entries. Let us have a small example. So again, the repeated simple example, e raised to e plus t or t, e raised to t star f or f parenthesis e and id. Our objective is to fill the LL1 passing table for this grammar. If I analyze the grammar, I will find that the production e raised to e plus t is a left recursive. So also production of t raised to t star f is a left recursive. And we know that left recursive grammar is not suitable for top-down parsing. So the prerequisite doesn't match. Is there a solution? Yes. The solution is eliminate left recursion. So after eliminating the left recursion, your grammar becomes what? We are eliminated left recursion. After elimination of left recursion, your grammar is e raised to t dash, e dash d dash 2 plus t dash or epsilon, t dash to ft dash, t dash d dash to star ft dash or epsilon, and f d dash to parenthesis e or id. With this as a pre-processed grammar, after this check out, is there any common prefixes in two alternate productions? If two alternate productions are having common prefixes, that means we need to perform the left factoring. In this example, there is no common prefixes, therefore left factoring is not required. So with this grammar, this modified grammar, we are going to fill the passing table entries. And the first step is to compute first and follow set. So first compute the first set of each of these non-terminal. So first of E is first of t, right? Look at this grammar. To compute first set, first of E is first of t. And what is first of t? First of t is first of f. And what is first of f? First of f is opening parenthesis and id. So first of E is equal to first of t, first of t is equal to first of f, and first of f is opening parenthesis and id. So three non-terminals first or first of E dash. First of E dash is looking at this production plus and looking at this production epsilon. So first of E dash is plus and epsilon. Then compute first of T dash, and first of T dash is what? As per this production, first of T dash is star and second production is epsilon. The first of T dash is star and epsilon. This is all about first of each non-terminal E, T dash, T dash and F. Okay. First of T dash हो गया. The first of F is opening parenthesis and ID. It is missing, I think so. Okay. So first of F is opening parenthesis and ID. Then compute the follow set. Follow up is dollar, that we know. Follow up is dollar start symbol, and then E appears here. So follow up E is right parenthesis. So follow up is right parenthesis and dollar. Then follow up E dash. So follow up E dash, to compute follow up E dash appears in these two production, and in both of these production E dash happens to be the rightmost non-terminal. So when it is rightmost non-terminal, we consider the follow set of left hand side variables. So follow up E dash is dollar and closing parenthesis. Next, moving further, follow of T. So what is follow of T? Now just focus, concentrate. Follow of T we are going to compute. So T appears in E production and this production, and okay, in these two production T appears. So what is follow of T? T followed by E dash. So E dash is a non-terminal. So first stop E dash minus epsilon is in follow of T. First stop E dash is what? Plus and opening plus and epsilon. So plus, only plus will be added into the follow of T. As for this production, again T followed by E dash. So first of E dash minus epsilon. So first of E dash is plus. So follow of T is plus. As far as first part is concerned, follow of T is plus. Then E dash is there, but E dash contains epsilon. So first of E dash contains epsilon. If you look at the first set of E dash contains epsilon. That means this E dash may derive a null string in some point of the derivation. The moment E dash derives to null string in some point of the derivation, T become rightmost non-terminal, and when T becomes rightmost non-terminal, follow of T is follow of left hand side variable. Therefore, follow of T is equal to follow of E, in follow of E is dollar and closing parenthesis. So total symbols are plus, closing parenthesis, and dollar for T. Then follow of T dash. So T dash appears in these two production. In both of these cases, T dash happens to be the rightmost non-terminal. So when it happens to be the rightmost non-terminal, we consider the follow of left hand side variable. So everything in follow of T, that will be in follow of T dash. So follow of T dash is equal to same as follow of T. Then consider follow of F, right? Whatever just now we have seen, the same case is repeated once again. Follow of F we are computing. It appears in these two places. So follow of F is what? F followed by, if I put an imaginary line after F, so F followed by T dash. So first of T dash, and first of T dash contains star epsilon. So except epsilon, so that is star. So follow up F is star. So follow up F is star. Okay. As T dash contains epsilon, first of T dash contains epsilon, it may possible in some derivation this T dash derives to null string. The moment T dash derives to null string, F happens to be the rightmost non-terminal, and the moment it happens to be non-terminal, everything in follow up left hand side variable will be in follow up F. So follow up F is equal to star, because of F followed by T dash and first of T dash is star. Because T dash contains epsilon, everything in follow of T, that is plus right parenthesis dollar, that is included as follow of F. This is how compute the follow set. Moving further, this is the grammar. This is the first and follow set. Okay, the first of F is still missing here. That is okay. First of F is there with opening parenthesis and ID here. Okay, with this as information, we have to fill the passing table entries. See how to fill the passing table entries. First, prepare a table. All the variables whose productions are provided, label them as a row title. The terminal symbols in the grammar, that is plus, star, opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis, ID. So they are, symbol is dollar. Now in this table we have to fill the entries. See one by one. Consider the first production E derives to TE dash. So consider the first production E derives to TE dash, and first of this alpha, that is T dash, means first of T. First of T is what? considering one by one production, if you consider production E d raised to T dash, what is first of alpha? First of alpha means first of T. First of T is opening parenthesis ID. So in opening parenthesis and ID, column of opening parenthesis and ID, and row of E, that means somewhere here and here we need to do what? Add E d raised to E dash. So we add E d raised to T dash. Okay, we will add E d raised to T dash because first of this alpha is ID and opening parenthesis. Likewise, go for the next. The next E dash D dash 2 plus T dash. If you consider E dash D dash 2 plus T E dash, the first of alpha is plus. So this production is added in the column of plus and row of E dash. So row of E dash, column of plus, plus T dash. Next production is E dash D dash to epsilon. E dash D dash to epsilon, and whenever alpha is epsilon, we consider follow state of left hand side variable. So follow of E dash, follow of E dash contains what? Dollar and right parenthesis. Follow of E dash is dollar and right parenthesis. So in the column of dollar and right parenthesis, we will add E dash D dash to epsilon. In both of these columns, E dash D dash to epsilon. So we repeat this for another production. So T D dash to FT dash. First of F is opening parenthesis and ID. So there we add T dash to FT dash. Considering next production T dash dash to star FT dash, the first of alpha is star, so it will be added into column of star. T dash D dash to epsilon, being epsilon production, follow up T dash to be considered, which is plus right parenthesis dollar. So in that three columns we add T dash D dash to epsilon. Moving further, F D dash to opening parenthesis, E closing parenthesis. The first of alpha is opening parenthesis, so row of F, column of opening parenthesis. Okay, F of F dash to ID is added first, no issues. And then opening parenthesis, so F dash to opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Okay, so all the productions we have considered, and this way we fill the entries in the passing table. After filling passing table entries for all productions, if there is no conflict, that means there is no multiply defined entry, we say grammar is LL1. We say grammar is LL1. If there are multiple entries in the same cell, we say grammar is not LL1. Okay, so for the exam point of view, what we have to consider is whenever you are talking about any production, say this one, in the row of E dash in column of plus, how it comes? Because of first of alpha. Because of this first of alpha. What about this production? E dash D dash to epsilon. Why in this column? Because this closing parenthesis is in follow of E dash. So follow of E dash is closing parenthesis, therefore epsilon. So epsilon production appears in the follow set of left hand side variable. Non-epsilon production appears in the column of first of right hand side of the production. If you remember these two simple rules, then we can easily crack the questions. Moving further, this is grammar ICTS S dash that we have already just did, and then first and follow set. Okay, so after computing first and follow set, if you make entries into the passing table, S d dash to ICT S S dash. So definitely first of alpha is I. So S row and column of I, we will add S d dash to ICT S S dash. Considering next production S d dash to A, first of alpha is A. So we'll add S d dash to A in the column of A and row of S. Production of S is over. Production of S dash D dash to ES. So first of alpha is E. So we'll add S dash D dash to ES in column of E. Okay, so we are added here. Then consider the next production S dash D dash to epsilon. First of epsilon is epsilon. Therefore, we have to consider the follow of left hand side variable, and follow of left hand side variable S dash is E and dollar. So follow up S dash is E and dollar. So in the column of E and dollar, we need to add S dash D dash to epsilon. So here in both the columns, we'll add S dash D dash to epsilon. Then considering the last production C D dash to B, for B alpha is B. So we'll add C D dash to B in the column of B, row of C. Simple. Now, if you consider this entry S dash on E, there are two entries in the passing table, S dash D dash to ES and S dash D dash to epsilon. So whenever there is a multiply defined entry in LL1 parsing table, we say grammar is not LL1. We say grammar is not LL1. So this grammar is not LL1 grammar. Now, if we analyze this, what will happen? We have to identify whether grammar is LL1 or not. And grammar to be LL1, there should not be multiple defined entries. So we have to examine what are the possibilities that a multiple entry will be in the same cell. So what are the possibilities? So consider this one example only. If you consider this example only, S dash d to ES, S dash d to epsilon. So one of these two is epsilon production. One is non-epsilon, other is epsilon production. And whenever one production is in epsilon, we make entries into the follow of left-hand side variable. So we made entries into the follow of S dash. So follow of S dash is E, and first of alpha is also E. Production of S dash contains ES, so that first is E. And because S dash refers to epsilon, follow of S dash contains E, follow of S dash contains E, right? As well as first of S dash contains E. So whenever we are having a production where first of alpha and follow of left hand side variable is having at least one common symbol, in that column there is a possibility of multiply defined entry, and grammar is not LL1. And grammar is not LL1. Similarly, there is a possibility of two entries in the same column provided S d to ICT S dash S d to maybe some other symbol but not exactly I. It may be say S d to capital A B C and then A d to small I. So first of alpha and first of beta is having a common symbol. So with this analysis, the conditions for grammar to be LL1 is for every pair of production A d to alpha or beta. For every pair of production A d to alpha or beta, three conditions must be satisfied. First of alpha intersection first of beta must be phi, right? So two productions, the first of alpha and first of beta should not be common symbol. So first of alpha intersections first of beta is phi. That means first of alpha and first of beta must be a disjoint set. Any one of alpha beta may be epsilon. And if beta is epsilon, if one is epsilon, then first of alpha and follow up left hand side variable A must be again disjoint set. So first of alpha intersection follow up A should be a null set or empty set. That means they should be a distinct set. Then only we say the grammar is LL1 if it satisfied all the three conditions. Okay, this is all about whether grammar is LL1 or not, and you are supposed to use these rules to check whether grammar is LL1 or not. You are not supposed to compute first, compute follow, fill entry, passing table entries, and then decide. So it will take more time. In GET, you are having crucial time that within a minute you have to find the answer. So you have to just analyze the grammar, two alternate productions. Wherever there is two alternate production, find out first of this, first of this. If there is no common symbol, go on for the next. Any one point, if you find that two alternate productions have a common symbol, that means it is not LL1. Second rule we apply that one of two may be epsilon, and the moment one is epsilon, so follows it, go to compute first of alpha and follow up left hand side variable. If again it has one common symbol, grammar is not LL1, and that can be done in a minute, definitely by applying these rules. By going with a typical procedure, it will take more time. By applying these rules, and just you are supposed to just visualize. So first, the moment you go through all the grammars and visualize immediately the symbols and first and follow, you will find it is easy to decide within a minute. Okay, this is all about my LL1 parsing table. Let us move on to the quiz, which contains the question which are asked in GATE, previous GATE examination questions, right? So let us have a small look. The question that consider the language L1 equal to 5 and L2 hence L1 followed by L2 closure union L1 closure, right? what will be the resulting language of L1 concatenated by L2 closure union L1 closure? The options are A is epsilon, B is phi, C is A closure, and D is epsilon and A. So student may put their correct options in the chat box. So correct answer is, you can put your correct answer in chat box. Are slides visible? Are slides visible?
No, sir.
What happens to? How long it was not visible? You are not called someone to show that slides are not visible.
एल्गोरिदम to compute first and follow वहाँ से नहीं visible.
Follow first and follow say.
हाँ sir.
Okay. So computed first and follow of this grammar, then make entries in the passing table here, step by step. Okay. Those who are in final year, they have already done this part. Okay. So here we step by step again we make entry to the passing table, and then we observe here that one of the cell is having multiple defined entries and grammar is not LL1. So when grammar is not LL1, what are the conditions to say to check whether grammar is LL1 or not? So here, for every pair of production A belongs to alpha or beta, the first of alpha and first of beta must be a disjoint set. The intersection must be a null set. Then any one of alpha beta may be epsilon. First, if one of them is epsilon, then first of alpha intersection follow of A must be again disjoint set. Okay, so first of alpha intersection follow of A, provided one of the production is epsilon. So if apply these three rules, very quickly you can identify whether grammar is LL1 or not. Okay, these are the conditions to be remembered. Then we are switched to quiz. So the first question is language is L1 equal to 5 and L2 equal to A. Which one of the following represents L1 followed by L2 closure union L1 closure? As one is empty and L2 is A, and L2 closure means what? Zero or more combinations of A. So basically it is A closure. L1 is empty and union with L1 closure empty. So null string and A closure. The language is A closure. So correct answer is A. Moving further, which of the following is top-down parser? Okay. Now here I will like to get answer from you. Which of the following is the top-down parser? Give correct answer in the chat box. Which of the following is top-down parser? We have studied only one. So correct answer is this. That is A.
A.
Next question, which of the following suffice to convert an arbitrary CFG to an LL1 grammar? To convert any Montesquieu grammar into LL1, what are minimum requirement? So options are removing left recursion alone, factoring left grammar alone, removing left recursion and left factoring the grammar, and none of this. So correct answer is, you can put correct answer in chat box also. So C is the correct answer, right? Moving further for the next question. For the grammar below, S d raised to small a capital A small b capital B and B A B epsilon S d raised to A d raised to S B d raised to S. The first and follow set for the non-terminus A and B are. So this is from one of the gate question. So here we have to quickly identify first and follow set of non-terminal A and B. So A, first and follow set of A, B both we are supposed to find out. So first of A and first of B will be same because first of A is first of S, first of B is also first of S. So what is first of S? The first of S is small a small b epsilon. So where it appears, they are the targets. So where appears first of A as A B epsilon, it appears in option A and C. Okay. First of S is A B epsilon. So it appears in option A and C. So B and C is now discarded. A and C is there. So out of these two, A and C, which one is correct? That we have to find out. So looking at focusing on first A and C, first answer is exactly same. What about the second part? This follow up A is AB. So is that true? Follow up AB is AB and follow up B is AB. In one case, follow up B is AB dollar and another option follow up B is phi. Now which one is correct? Projector says A, so she is right. So because follow up B when we are computing, follow up B is here, B appears, here B appears, and everything in follow up S that will be in follow up B, and follow up B will definitely contains dollar. So dollar is in follow up B, so correct answer is A. So this quickly you have to identify how much time it take, hardly 30 seconds. 30 to 40 seconds requirement, that is appreciable time. Consider the grammar shown below. IETSS-A. Same grammar, symbols are changed. ICTSS, right? In predictive parsing table M of this grammar, the entries in M of S dash on E and M of S dash on dollar respectively are. You are not supposed to construct entire LL1 parsing table. The particular entry that you are supposed to predict and find out. So the question is about S dash on E. So S dash on E will be what? S dash zeros to this production. S dash karo E ka column. So S dash zeros to ES. So S dash zeros to ES here and here also. And S dash zeros to epsilon. S dash zeros to epsilon, where it will go? Because epsilon production, follow up S dash and follow up S dash contains. What is follow up S dash? Follow up S. Follow up S dash is follow up S, and follow up S is first of S dash. First of S dash is E. So follow up S dash contains E. So S dash zeros to epsilon goes into row of S dash and column of E. So this is more relevant answer, and this is also relevant answer. What else is S dash on dollar? So follow up S dash contains dollar. Therefore, this is more correct answer. Okay. So we have to identify the correct answer, and these are the questions which are asked in GATE exam. The grammar A derives to AA or parenthesis A or epsilon is not suitable for predictive parsing because grammar is ambiguous, left recursive, right recursive, and operator grammar. Yes, the question is easy one. You can put your answer in the chat box. Yeah, correct answer. grammar is not suitable for predictive parsing because what is the reason? Quickly, B, left recursive, right? Consider the grammar as d raised to fr, r d raised to star s or epsilon, f d raised to id. Again, they are asking entries into the parsing table with m of s on id. M of s on id. So s on id. So s ka production, s ka row id में. So first of fr. What is first of fr? So s d raised to fr is in this m of r dollar, and then what is the follow of r? Accordingly, the correct answer is A, right? R d raised to epsilon. Now here is consider the grammar with the set of production rules. Grammar is not LL1 because it is ambiguous, right? This is grammar is ambiguous grammar. Consider the grammar. The parsing table is given over here, and you are asked to find what will be the entries in place of E1, E2, and E3. So question is same, but way of asking the question is different. Instead of putting M of S on A and S on B, instead of that, they are saying simply put a parsing table, put the E1, E2, E3 symbols here, and then what will the entries into place of E1, E2, E3. So out of these four options, you have to find out one and eliminate. So first step is find the solution one. Accordingly, which are suitable, keep those and eliminate remaining. And then out of one or two options left, find out the suitable one by applying the second or third rule. So here the correct answer is C. Similar type of the question with different grammar and different location. Again, you are supposed to find out entries into the passing table at plus E1 and E2. So here it is B. This is the example that we already considered, and applying this grammar on the translation part. If the stack is $E dash T dash and input is star ID dollar, so what will be the next action by the parser, and after taking the action, what will be the stack and buffer entries, right? So T dash on star. So if you look at this grammar, T dash on star is T dash d raised to star F T dash. T dash d raised to star F T dash is the action provided by the parser. So what it has to do? Expand T dash with star F T dash. So to expand star Ft dash, what goes in the stack? Right hand side production goes into the stack with the string reverse. If it goes into the stack with the string reverse, this starts to be appeared on the top. So star appears on the top at these two productions B and C. Okay, it appears on the stack B and C, but we need star below that F below that T dash. So star F is not there, missing here. So this is the correct answer. So this way you have to find and eliminate the options. This is the last question. Basically, this is not about LL1, but simple. Which of the following grammar rule violates a requirement of an operator grammar? This is the question on operator grammar. PQR are non-terminus and RST are terminus. So production rules are given, and if you consider this grammar for operator grammar, so which one is violating? That is wrong. Now, how to analyze this question? To analyze this question, just imagine any expression, arithmetic expression. So arithmetic expression, two variables cannot come close together. For any arithmetic expression, two variables cannot come close together. So accordingly, the option number one is possibility generating two variables close together. Expression cannot be null statement, empty statement. So three is possible. Whereas P derives to QSR. So S is an operator and Q and R may be some identifiers. Likewise, QT, R, S, then terminal possible. So 1 and 3 is violating the rule. So correct answer is B. 1 and 3 only is violating the rules of operator precedence passing. Okay, this is all about my top-down LL1 parser questions. Next parser is LR parser. In some next class, we'll cover this LR parser and questions based on this LR parsers. So I hope you understood. Just go through it, practice it. As and when practice, you will be able to identify answers quickly. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. If you are having queries, then you can post here.